How we doing, chat? I mean, we'll probably mention this when we're doing the actual podcast section, but that may be in podcast history, that might be the worst loss. So it'll be interesting to see how many people we get live, how many of you tune in. Tell a friend. I know that tonight's game, Bengals versus Bills, is a real banger. So I appreciate you, those of you who are tuning in live, because you might not want to revisit that.
Loss? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. So Ty's on the denial stage.
Yeah, the Seahawks had a bye week this week.
Yeah, I mean, not many of them got injured. They did play some football, but they got to. It was kind of pre-season-y. There was like a whole drive of like Nick Ballore taking defensive snaps and others.
Yeah, that's crazy that the NFL decided to implement a fourth preseason game in the middle of the regular season.
Right. Wild.
Yeah.
And you know what? On turf as well. Unfamiliar surface for Seattle.
Yeah. I never want to see grass again.
Yeah, right. I definitely don't want to touch it. To the power rankings. So we promised you
That's
maybe
right,
it
baby.
What?
It's a little intermission.
Oh. I don't know how that any amount of copium is going to help tonight. That's understandable. Toy pianos.
You'll see.
However, all right, Ty. However, I don't think I'm going to be that copy, and I think Ty, I don't think is either, and Griff, yeah, we'll see. We're not going to be that copy. I think we'll just try and be level-headed.
Well, we're always level-headed.
Vince, good subject that. I don't think that was the main issue. There was just some plays where it looked a bit weird, didn't it? But yeah. Mojombo, great idea. However, I don't think you guys are able to access any of the good chocolate, so it might be a bit challenging.
All right.
Hello, Jesse. Good to see you.
What's up, Jesse?
Jen. Okay, Jen. So, Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
Benny
Agreed.
boy. Yes, we will be doing that. We will share thoughts on the run game. But first, as promised, we John, you could say that. As promised, we have a fun thing to kick off the show, which has disappeared, Ty. But we have power rankings of all of the NFL songs.
Yes.
Now we've done our research into this, and it might get heated.
Right. Right.
Now
we've thought long and hard about this.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on this. Now, my first take is that the Thursday Night Football song, I know it's new, and we haven't had it conditioned into us for many years watching football. It's not one of the classics. It's hard to create a football song. However, it sounds to me like an Overwatch type of song, like a kind of first-person shooter video game where you're controlling characters with superpowers.
That like ambient background noise or whatever.
Yes. I would put that in D.
Can you play it? Do we have it up to play?
We don't want to get copyright.
Yeah.
Griff.
So,
Griff.
You gotta act like a professional YouTuber, man.
Power. Yeah, I know.
You got to be aware of the rules. We got to play by the rules.
All right.
It's been a.
By the way,
day.
if you guys want to play along, I'm dropping the link to the tier list there in the chat, so you guys play along. You can make your own tier list. Show us on Twitter at Seattle Overload what your tier list is. Yeah. So the TNF song.
D.
Yeah.
For dreadful.
I'm feeling Like, all right, I feel like something has to get, like, we have to put something in the D tier. So if I'm gonna put any of these in the D tier, it's this one.
Why are you being nice to Jeff Bezos?
It's either him or Murdoch.
How am I being? I literally said that I wanted to put it in the worst tier.
No, because you're saying I feel like something has to go. No, it's not something. It's not something has to. It deserves to be there. It's just bad.
All right. Shoot.
Now, at first, when I heard it, I was like, "Oh yeah," but now
I'm getting flashbacks to the chocolate rant.
Well, yeah.
Someone
said I had two things on Twitter this week. So, firstly, someone said that they took me for a teetotaler, which
Really,
it's like I don't know what that means really.
Are you familiar with the phrase?
No, what does that mean?
It means you don't drink, you abstain.
Oh right, yeah. No, I was familiar with the phrase. But like, I get I look young, so I didn't know if it was like saying. So then it's not like I'm not allowed to drink. It's or like legally drink.
Choose not to.
Yeah, and then I was like, interesting. Is that because I look so youthful, or? I took it as an insult. And then secondly, someone said they thought I would be a gunner.
Like the position, or
special teams.
Yeah, like within the context. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right.
I mean, you get after it.
I'd get after it. I don't know if it was a reference to.
I mean, at least they didn't say kicker or punter.
I mean, do people know that you played safety? You gotta flex that a little bit.
There you go. Yeah,
actually have played the position before.
Like,
I mean, maybe
like they said that you're a header, basically. Like,
I didn't know if it was a metaphor for perhaps it was quickly after the chocolate rant. So
I don't know about that. I don't know if they were thinking that deep with it.
It was Jenny. Too much credit. Jenny, please do get in touch with the podcast. Let us know.
Well, she certainly thinks deeply about these things. So
that's what I was going with. Yeah.
Well,
okay,
right.
John. Hey, so, John.
Let's get back to ranking these.
Oh no, the Mad King Matty. Oh no,
John, you're on a warning, John.
Oh no.
Okay.
John,
yeah. So for TNF,
John, I wouldn't take his threats lightly.
TNF is not that bad. I give it a C.
No, I'm not. No.
The Amazon Prime one is the worst.
That's what we're talking about.
Well, but aren't there two?
We're talking about TNF.
Oh, buddy.
Okay,
Prime is
TNF.
Yikes.
No, yeah. YouTube is confusing me right now.
All right. We're going to D. We're going to D tier on the Thursday Night Football.
Sorry. That's also by distinguished composer Pinar Toprak, making her the first woman to compose the original theme music for an NFL media package. So very cool, but yeah, try harder, I guess. Like
Matthew
didn't cut it for us.
Fruity Loops NFL theme song. All right.
Okay.
ESPN Monday Night Football.
Give it a B.
It's
I really don't
classic.
like it.
I know you don't like it, but it's classic. It's classic. Like when I hear that, like, yeah, Monday Night Football is on. Like,
I don't like the brass.
It doesn't have enough bass to it, does it?
True. It doesn't have it doesn't have enough stank. It doesn't have enough stank on it like some of these others.
No stank.
There you go.
And it's far too it's like announcing a short emperor's coming.
Exactly. All right. I feel that 100%.
All right, you've convinced me. So D tier as well, or C?
No, C. It's a C. It's
all
a C.
All right.
CB.
It's well arranged. It just doesn't have the power we want.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's got the nostalgia to keep it out of the cellar, but overall it doesn't hit the way that it probably should.
Yeah.
All right. CBS.
This is going great.
We just heard this one.
CBS is good, man.
There's some real stank to that.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Like that whole like crescendo or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's really good. Yeah. I feel A on this one.
I'll give it an A.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
fair. And
A.
you know the thing with YouTube, when you click on the video and it speeds it up now? That's awful.
Yeah, agreed.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, Fox.
Fox is S tier. That's
Yeah,
fucking
Fox
power,
is
dude.
100%.
Yeah,
S tier.
if we're talking about like classic, like nostalgic, like the Fox NFL theme sounds like football, right?
Yeah.
Like you think about football, like that plays in my head.
Did they use it for Madden? Did Madden get the rights to use it like 1 or 2 years? I feel it just feels like pure football. And then
when I hear Fox, I'm ready for some CTE. I'm ready to go. Like I'm ready to see a safety get thrown out of a game for a big hit.
Here,
yeah,
we got to make another.
The ESPN Monday Night Football is just trying to be what the Fox NFL is.
Yeah,
doing it.
What?
Oh my
what
god!
Is
I created so many. I created so many.
I think S tier is suitable, Ty.
No, hold on.
Don't put CTE.
Hold on.
Please don't do that.
I'm putting it.
No, don't do that.
Tier.
Oh god.
This is Griff's fault. This is Griff's fault. This is not my fault. This is Griff's fault.
Brilliant. Okay, and then lastly we have Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football to me is us. That's the most iconic one to me.
It's good. Now we've got the CTE tier, so I guess that this could be an S tier.
Yeah. That's below CTE. Like we're still saying that NFL on Fox
it's too refined.
It's look, the horns go crazy on that song. The horns go crazy.
My thing is though, what happens to it without Collinsworth and Al Michaels? That whole thing is just changed for me.
I mean, Collinsworth is still there.
He is. Well, is he?
I mean, look, I like Tirico though. I think Tirico's good.
Yeah, he's right.
I like him.
Yeah,
I like.
Yeah, he's fine.
All right, look, I think that Al Michaels is the best. Right, so like obviously you are downgrading no matter what, like no matter who it is, really. But
right,
I think Tirico was a good replacement, and like hearing his voice over that theme is that still slaps. Doesn't slap as much as Al Michaels' voice on it, but still slaps.
John makes a good point in the chat. Carrie Underwood is also a big miss.
No, that would be like trash tier. We would have to make another tier for that one as well. Like, I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. Like, no,
the one before that. Where she
right. Like, there's a new one, right? Or like a newer one. Right?
No, the earlier one.
Oh, the earlier
it was like
I don't remember
where she was just like, Sunday night.
Sunday night. Yeah.
That one was banging.
It doesn't bump in the whip. It doesn't pass the whip test.
You're just driving around. Okay. Right.
So the actual Sunday Night Football theme though, that bumps in the whip. So does Fox NFL and so does CBS. Those bump in the whip. Again, like Monday Night Football doesn't have enough bass, so that clearly does not pass the whip test. Thursday Night Football, like you said, it sounds like some Overwatch shit, so that doesn't pass the whip test.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Sunday night. No. Nah.
That's what I'm saying. It's classy. Carrie is classy lady.
No, it's not classy. It's trash. I'm sorry. It's trash. I'm sorry, Carrie, but it's trash.
Yeah. Low key, Jen.
I'm always on
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah. He's always on Twitter. I'll be
Always,
like mid
permanently.
In fact, I
I'll be
tweeted and I deleted it.
either Maddie and I, like either Maddie or I will be like mid sentence on the show, and Griff will just start laughing at something that he's reading on Twitter.
It's so rude.
I can multitask.
But sometimes it's great though, because we'll tell a hilarious joke and Griff will laugh, and you'll never know if it was at us or the tweet, but kind of syncs up nicely sometimes.
Last time it was because I was just laughing at Jake Bobo being really good, and it was like
right, and then we were like, wait, what? Oh.
I do have delayed laughter sometimes. Like it takes a while for something to register.
Ooh, and we do tell such witty, intelligent jokes that the punchline can take some deciphering. But when you get there,
right,
yeah.
We're hilarious. No, and if it doesn't land, it's your fault for not getting the joke.
Right.
All right, are we ready?
Longest preamble ever. Brilliant. Okay.
All right. Did you guys enjoy that?
That
Let
was
us
great.
know in the comments
I
below.
enjoyed that. Griff, were you bought into that?
Yeah, I was bought in. Although I will
send
say,
us
give a little feedback. I think you were a little possessive over the ranking. I don't think it was as
it wasn't group
collaborative.
work?
Yeah, it wasn't as collaborative as you made it seem. Hit it, Maddie.
Maddie, hit it.
I'm trying to hit it. I'm trying to
hit it.
Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where unfortunately the Seahawks in a massive road game have been blown out in terrible fashion to the Baltimore Ravens, 37-3. It is tied for the second worst loss of the Pete Carroll era, behind their 42-7 loss to the Rams in 2017. They also lost by 34 points in 2010, 41-7 to the New York Giants, for those of you who remember that. Other figures which kind of paint how bad this was: the Ravens had 29 first downs, the Seahawks had 6. The Ravens had 515 total yards, the Seahawks had 151. The Ravens ran 75 total plays to the Seahawks 47. The Ravens had 6.9 yards per play, Seattle 3.2. The Ravens 298 rushing yards, Seattle 28. The Ravens 7.3 yards per carry, Seattle 1.9. The Ravens 26 completions, Seattle 13. The Ravens 4 sacks, Seattle 1 sack. And then the Ravens time of possession, 40 minutes 4 seconds to Seattle's 19 minutes 56 seconds with the football. And Griff, you're scouring the Twitter timeline for some cope, but come on, man, that was bad.
I am the coach. Oh no, that was horrible, man. That was terrible. I'm not saying otherwise.
I'm not saying you're saying otherwise.
Okay,
like, that's weirdly defensive.
Yeah.
Thought you were being weirdly.
I tend a little skittish there, Griff.
You set it up though that I'm looking for cope in spite of it being bad.
Oh yeah, I did say that. Shit.
Yeah, Maddie. It was really bad. This was the huge test to see if they can take the leap from playing well against, teams that I think are below them, to see how well they can perform against the heavy hitters in the NFC, the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Cowboys. That test was via, the best team in the AFC, or one of the 2 or 3 best teams of the AFC, and they failed miserably, horrifically. So they're now the new next test is, how do they recover from this? Can they reestablish what they were before this game, and then try to take another leap? So that's kind of where they need to be at now. So unfortunately, it's not where we wanted to be at all. They were bad at everything this game. Like, there wasn't a single thing that they've done well all year, no matter how granular you get, how specific you get. They didn't. And nothing that they've done well this year carried over into this game. They were bad at everything, every bucket, every category. Again, no matter how much you slice it up, they were just horrific. And everyone got outplayed. I don't think the game plan was good. The communication was bad. The things that are in their control was bad. The things that are less out of their control was bad. Things compounded, made worse. So it was It was just bad all around. They got beat up on the road by probably one of the best teams in the NFL, maybe the best team in the NFL on the 10 a.m. game, and it was just horrific. And I think that they're much better than that. But yeah, it sucks to be on this end of it for sure.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a great test for them and maybe an eye-opening experience. And I mean, maybe it was an eye-opening experience, but not for the reasons that we were hoping for. It's kind of it feels like a culmination of all the issues and concerns that have cropped up over the last few weeks, just in a very, very extreme manner. Yeah, just really, really disappointing. Like really, really disappointing, really depressing. There's nothing good to take away from this. This is terrible. But like you said, Griff, this is going to be a great test for them and seeing how they bounce back, how they respond to this. Because they got their ass beat today. Like there's no way around it. This was a straight up ass beating, like of epic proportions. Like terrible stuff. Terrible football across the board, all three phases. They failed miserably, and the road isn't going to get much easier for them from the rest of the way forward. So they got to get their shit together and relatively quick here, or things could unravel. So yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit on this show and over the course of the week. But yeah, nothing good to take away from this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what sucked for me, that kind of culmination of it. Like, heading into this game, okay, it's a tough road game in terms of it being on the East Coast, 10 a.m. start for Seattle's time frame. But they're used to that, and they've performed well in those early kickoffs before, and it looked like an opportunity to go up against a 6-2 AFC team. You, at the time of 5-2, you were contending for best team in the NFC, and the Cowboys almost beat the Eagles today, so you could have been really pushing up for that seed, potentially could have, would have, should have, but instead it is that culmination of a lot of issues coming to the forefront where the offense, they have issues which have been present in previous games, and they continue throughout the game. And against a good opponent, we said I think last week how they wouldn't be able to get away with stuff for this long against a good opponent. Well, Baltimore, they didn't have a backup quarterback in the game. They had a complete offensive performance, and defensively they were absolutely dominant. Along with Seattle, what was most disappointing is a lot of their errors felt self-inflicted. I found it telling how, I mean, if we focus on something which was good to start off with, the first two Baltimore drives ended in punts, then they scored a touchdown, then Boye Mafe had his sack fumble, which was really impressive, then they scored a touchdown. Then there was another Baltimore fumble, which Seattle recovered at the end of half. And really, the defense was playing okay football in that first half. It was up and down. They were a very talented opponent. There was some self-inflicted things where it looked like, a guy who was meant to play the quarterback just didn't play the quarterback. There was also some really good Baltimore play design. I felt the defense was okay in that first half. And I tweeted, I don't think we should overreact, because then in that third quarter in particular, it was field goal. They were kind of holding their own despite some really skewed time of possession and all that stuff. But what was disappointing, and what Pete Carroll went to in his opening statement of his press conference, as he does after the games, is the way that they, after that turnover where Trey Brown forced the fumble from Odell Beckham Jr., really kind of crazy kind of play, it was 14-3 at the time, and they could have made it 14-6, 14-10. Instead, they just absolutely crapped their pants. And Baltimore goes up. Did they score a field goal there? Yeah, they went up 17-3. And they're still, two-score game becoming a two-score game. But and credit to the defense for holding them out again, basically. But it was just yikes. So I guess that transitions us to the offense, where Geno Smith, there's a lot of conversation around him, and you can look at his success rate, his EPA, his completion percentage over expectation, and also the tape, which we've looked at in previous weeks, to show that he's actually played fairly good football. Whether you look at metrics or different tape over the past few weeks, but there have been errors creeping in, and particularly the past 2 weeks or maybe 3. There's been inaccuracy, missing throws, and this one here, the interception to Tyler Lockett in the kind of honey hole of palms, wasn't it? It looked like to
I think
me,
so,
or
yeah.
like, but basically cover 2. He throws that inside, and
It might have been a late
really
rotation to cover 2, actually.
that might explain it. I mean, I just don't understand why he throws that inside and sort of a weird trajectory for Lockett. Bad pick and kind of a off the mark deal where we've seen that creep in. Last week he missed Metcalf on a slant. He threw a pick to JSN against Cincinnati where he was overly confident in his coverage read, but also the ball placement was really kind of off on that. And I don't know, Griff, where are you out of Gino? Because, I mean, my take is that a lot of this is him really trying to get the ball out fast because he's conscious that the offensive line is struggling, or he's conscious that it's third down. He wants to get the ball out, and he knows what the coverage is, and he's confident in his coverage read. And often while his coverage read is correct and, he's got the right kind of on-paper beta, the mistakes seem to be happening where he's kind of, well, it's two things. I think he's pressing a bit and forcing the ball into stuff where it's not there post-snap, even if the coverage is what he thought and they've got the, on-paper beta for it. But then to that inaccuracy I spoke about where, I mean, I guess if you're rushing a process, then the ball can be more inaccurate as well.
Yeah. I'm more worried about the general accuracy regression that's going on. More so really just the last 2 games. That one Mills concept in the end zone, he ended up underthrowing DK. I mean, he had it. He had the touchdown. He read it right. He got the ball out on time, and he just threw a bad ball. Last week against the Browns, like, their structure was good. I thought the play calling was good enough that if Geno was just sharper in those middle drives in the middle quarters of the game, they score more points. Trying to isolate Geno, I mean, I don't think that his process was poor this game, with the exception of the wonky interception. I am concerned about the accuracy, but trying to isolate the quarterback play, I don't even know, like, as the saying goes, once we get a look at the tape, but I don't know what the utility is in it, because I didn't really see there being any room to execute anything. I don't think the receivers were getting open. I think the O-line played surprisingly poorly. I know that obviously they had 4 out of 5 starters in, but like Damian Lewis and Charles Cross were losing, and it was frequently, and that's really frustrating because the Ravens, they don't get a lot of pressure with their front 4. What they do is they convert a lot of the pressure they do get into sacks. So the offensive line had an opportunity to show that they can play decent football against a defensive line that is less talented than the Cleveland Browns, less talented than the Bengals even, in terms of just their front 4, and show that they can actually survive a little bit, and they absolutely crumpled. And so, I mean, there was just, and I think that there might be a little bit of a lag effect there for Geno. This is coming up now on the 8th game of poor protection, really, this year, with some games with a little bit better than not, but a lot of scheme helping it out. And then the final 6-7 games of last year. And I'm afraid that it's going to beget certain habits in Geno and his process, and more so like the antsy stuff, like the stuff that you can't really point your finger at exactly. But I'm afraid that because we know that he can kind of play frustrated at times when he gets in a rep. Sometimes it makes him better, like it focuses him in. It's a double-edged sword, but I just think that like, my thing is, if you want a better quarterback, fine, but this team with a better quarterback isn't going anywhere with the circumstances surrounding the quarterback playing the way that they're playing right now. And that's like ultimately, like, if this team was going to compete for the conference, it was not going to do that no matter who the quarterback is, with the O-line playing the way that it is. Now, the only thing that I've got there is that, it's their first of those 4, it's their first game altogether, right?
Right.
So, continuity and everything, but still I would have preferred a better performance, even controlling for all those variables.
And Griff,
Right.
like, Ty, I'll bring you in a sec, sorry, but the way that Damian Lewis and Charles Cross got beat on that tackle end exchange, that's a communication thing. The way that the zone blocking, the combinations were struggling. that could be a chemistry thing as well. But yeah, Ty, where are you at with Geno?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I said on Twitter during the game that, like, look, no one's saying that Geno's playing well in this game, but it's very obvious that the issues that this offense experienced today, it's not just on the quarterback. It's not just on one entity in general. I think there's just very clearly structural issues with the offense today. And I think part of that, I mean, a big part of that is the offensive line, which has been a problem for most of the year because of the injuries. They've had to account for a lot of that and contort their offense in accordance with that as well. And so, it's hard for any quarterback to play well under duress, especially as much as Geno was today. I don't think that there's a clear answer here. Like, they just straight up, like, they just have to execute better in multiple facets. And I think naturally Geno's play will just improve if the rest of everything else improves, right? It's a lot to ask of him. That's not to excuse him, because he's obviously had some very poor plays here. Some really bad mistakes, some really uncharacteristic mistakes and accuracy issues. But the offense as a whole, the offense as an entire unit has to figure it out. And I think just naturally that's going to make everything better, most importantly, Geno, right?
Right.
Agreed.
So, the Pete Carroll afterwards kind of agrees with what we were saying, where he said how he highlighted that they went only 1 for 12 on third down, which is abysmal and it's hard to do that. But he described how they got rushed pretty good by and how they mixed their stuff really well, and how it was hard. So, kind of echoing our comments on the offensive line. And then also he mentioned how he doesn't think it's about Geno Smith. He thinks it's about the whole football team not answering the bell. And when they're rushing the passer, it's not Geno. He's also asked about the fact that Geno Smith now has 8 turnovers in the last 4 games. And he said, yeah, of course, he's concerned about that, but pointed out that Geno Smith's sack fumble was the pass rush and Charles Cross getting beat by a speed rush around the edge. And then the pick was, a bad overthrow, but
against Kyle Van Noy, by the way, which is disturbing.
The speed rush, very concerning. Really, they shouldn't be happening to Cross, especially at this stage. But we'll see how he adjusts to that. But Carroll also mentioned how even with Geno turning the ball over 8 times in the last 4 games, until this game at least, to the last 3 games, it took Seattle to first place, that kind of play style, whatever the heck we'd been doing. But then highlighted they didn't play like a first place team today, and those turnovers really made it hard to win. So
yeah,
I think that's all kind of fair stuff. And ultimately, it kind of brings me on to Shane Waldron. And again, we mentioned how it's a culmination of things. Well, it seems weird to me, Griff, how this offense had the most kind of, and when you mention stuff like identity and things being joined up or making sense, really that just means moving the ball. Like, I don't think, if they score touchdowns on plays, you don't care what they're doing. But when you start going for 3 and out, then you start really kind of noticing it. Just as a general overview, obviously we're nerdy and pay attention to stuff, but or spend time on stuff. But what I was thinking is, it's crazy to me how they have the most identity it's felt this offense has had is when they had both backup tackles in, so Cross out, Abraham Lucas out, and they went into multiple tight end sets, 12 personnel, 13 personnel. And okay, that does coincide with when they scored a bunch of points against Detroit, but that felt like they had a real kind of structure. And maybe it was just that, that particular silo of 12 personnel, 13 personnel under center, and how they were sprinkling in the tight ends with their shotgun plan. They had all these plays which were working, so they felt more comfortable layering it off. But as we've discussed in the past, the kind of siloed nature of this offense and how each look and each personnel has a number of plays in it. And when those plays don't work, it kind of feels like they're moving on to the next bucket, the next silo, the next look, and calling the next load of plays without them really working, and it feeling like a bunch of ineffective change-ups without really like a a fast speed pitch, like a number one pitch. What do you call that? A fastball. Thank you, Ty. He's like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He's mental.
I was too busy charting second and 8+ runs today for the Seahawks.
Oh brother. Griff.
There were 3 of them, by the way.
Nice.
Griff, are you with me on that kind of? Where are you at with Waldron? Because the identity thing, it's always going to be bad when the offense isn't doing well. But like,
well, my thing, like I said last week, is when you have silos of offense, like you've put it well. Like the upshot of that is you have formational diversity, you have personnel diversity and multiplicity, and all those buzzwords sound great. And then when it doesn't work, everything feels choppy because as you move out of one silo to the other, the plays within each silo don't really connect to the other one. They don't sequence together.
right.
Only the plays within each silo sequence into the next one. So like plays from silo X set up future plays in silo X, but they don't set up the next play, which might be in silo Y, for example.
It feels really gimmicky, right?
Maybe. I think it's good to have a bunch of tight ends and have a good 12 personnel package. I think it's good to have 3 really good receivers and theoretically be good in 11, or you should be good in 11. And you got to use it. Blending it together is maybe where you kind of relieve that idea that it feels gimmicky. Maybe they need to try to sequence some of it together. But like in theory, they could access their entire offense out of 12. In theory, they can access the whole offense out of 11. I really think like today, the issue is just, maybe Waldron could have done more to give the receivers space a little bit, kind of scheme them into space a little bit, get things rolling. But I really think the execution made it such that it just didn't matter. Now that can be circular, right? Like if you can get going in one area that can help the execution helps the play calling, et cetera, right? But like last week against the Browns, I actually thought the play calling was fine. After I watched the tape, I actually felt pretty good about the offense.
The execution just stunk, right?
It stalled with the execution. Like that's, to me, like I'm being critical of Geno there. And like Geno was poor in things in the second and third quarter against the Browns that he had not been poor at all year long. Like missing guys in quick game.
Along with the penalties and receivers not running the correct route and and stuff like that.
And to that point, now there is like the decision to throw the ball on the interception. You can still criticize that, go for it. But there also was still a miscommunication between quarterback and receiver. At what point is that like the coaching of the offense? Like not the scheming, not the play calling, but the actual coaching of it. Is that something we need to think about? Is that Sanjay Law? I have no idea.
Or are they, Griff, are they trying to have they tried to take this offense a bit too far and been a bit too ambitious from that kind of year 1 to year 2 leap with Geno? Geno's obviously very smart and understands, you can just see it from his play style, understands defensive structures and everything. But in terms of the amount of receiver mix-ups that are taking place right now, it's kind of wild. And it's easy to overreact to something, a massive game like this, but there might be something there.
No, yeah, you're right. It could be. And like, if they go and handle business against the Commanders, do we just chalk it up to the differences in the opposing team talent? Like, I don't know.
It's got to be part of it, hasn't it? But
it's certainly a variable.
And Mike McDonald, the Ravens DC, he seemed to have a real good eye on what, and again, we're just reacting broadcast, we haven't watched the All-22, but what each look represented for Seattle and like what each personnel grouping was going to present and how to attack that, and what series of plays he had to defend. And like a good example, or one which kind of sticks out in my mind, is when they were doing their split backfield gun stuff and shifting around, and they pressured that weak side backer, I think it was Queen, right into the teeth of Geno's bootleg. Like they knew basically what they were likely to get there. Like they're highly predictable. And on the point of execution, Ty, you were saying before we got on air about that JSN bobbled drop on third down.
There was something cursed about that.
Yeah, no, that was like a bad omen, right? Like
when that happened, yeah.
I was just like, oh no. But then they were able to they got 3 and out on the Ravens' first drive, right? Or the Ravens got like a first down, and then they were able to get off the field.
Well, then
So I
that
was
that
like,
second third down was good too. And like I thought, like, oh, they're actually kind of off to a competent start.
yeah, Gino made a really nice throw to Lockett down the sideline. Like I was like, okay.
And then Jason Peters came in and false started.
That's right. Yeah, we did. That also, like, the interception was the only time that Gino and Lockett miscommunicated. I think it was on that second drive of the game when I think it was maybe the second down right before they punted, and I think Gino wanted him to bend that route down a little bit more, and Gino just had to kind of plant the ball on the ground, and like you can see him talking to Lockett. So like clearly they weren't on the same page today.
No.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like just
What?
they were all kinds of out of sorts.
And this is to do with the O-line execution, but I think also it felt there was a concerted effort, at least to start the game, of first down, under center, wide zone or mid zone, weak mid zone runs, and they got nothing. Like there's 1-2 yards there on the day. Seattle had 15 rush attempts, for 1.9 yards per carry. I think there's probably a Geno scramble or two in there, but they just couldn't run the ball. And as much as like Walker's dancing and stuff, especially when watching live, you're like, why is he doing that? I really think there wasn't much more there, and I think the tape, as it has done in previous games, watching Walker, will back that up, where they got absolutely worked up front. Like the Ravens did disgusting things to Seattle's O-line, run game, pass rush, blitzing, and some of that's play calling as well. Like McDonald having a much better game than Waldron did.
Yeah,
but some of that's execution. Go ahead, Griff.
Well, and it's really unfortunate that they played so poorly against the blitz too, because I mean, coming into this game, Gino had the third lowest sack rate when blitzed or when rushed by 5 or more rushers. He had a 2% sack rate against the blitz. He also was top 3 in almost every measure. Adjusted net yards per attempt, like EPA, points earned per play, success rate. Like he's been elite against the blitz this year, and for them to have no answer against their blitz. Well, I mean, again, they kind of started off that way, and then everything just fell apart. And I don't know. I mean, I really want to watch the tape just because I want to see like where the breakdowns were happening against structure. But then a lot of it is like maybe we'll find examples of them being sound assignment wise and then just losing anyway, and it being undercut by poor execution. They needed to play their best game, and they probably, like, irrespective of opponent, and they easily played their worst game of the season, even worse than that Rams game.
Yeah, but what's troubling to me is the offense has been doing this. Like, I don't think this doesn't feel to me like a complete shocker or surprise. Like, I was hoping that they would be able to, as I said at the start, match the test of an opponent and correct things, and that last week being more execution based rather than maybe like a play calling thing, like the plays being there to make, but them kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Execution wise was kind of an evolution of the problem, and that they'd then be able to correct that and be fine. But instead, to me, just from an overall perspective, think about how many points the offense have scored, which is such a basic way of looking at it. But they haven't scored that many points this season. They've had stalling periods and no offense in the NFL.
That's the red zone though problem, right?
Right, a red zone problem and a third down problem, and that was what they came into the season really wanting to correct and fix. And you can point to the banged up offensive line as well. Oh, as I drop something, kind of sums up the day. I guess also it's disappointing because, this was the game where Damian Lewis, Evan Brown, Phil Haynes, and Charles Cross are in there. The 4 of the 5 projected starts heading into the year are playing up front, and they just doesn't. You couldn't tell. Like
they didn't do, like I said in the beginning, they didn't do anything well this game that they have done well this year. Even in the last 3 games that have felt frustrating, They didn't move the ball on early downs. They didn't move the ball outside of the red zone. I mean, they didn't run the ball and under center well against the Ravens, who do not have a good under center run defense. And the Seahawks do have a good under center run offense. They didn't do that well either. So, like, just there was zero category that the Seahawks did well in this game that they've been doing well in.
Yeah.
I mean, they all just laid an egg, like all of them. Every single player, quarterback, coaching staff, receivers. I mean, Tyler Lockett came to play early on, but I think he was getting blanketed. Dave Wyman said in his post game, because he's up in the skybox, he can see everything. He was talking about, like, they're losing downfield. They're
and
losing.
Romo did show one or two plays where with one of those wide angles or just end zone angles where they were clamped.
Yeah,
like absolutely clamped.
Yeah.
It was one of those days where it feels like the Ravens have like 14 dudes on the field.
For sure. And that's, again, credit to McDonald. That's what he does. I just thought they would have been able to compete a little bit, for lack of a better term, against it. I honestly thought their structure was kind of built for what the Ravens do. And obviously that was wrong.
Hell.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's Pete Carroll standing by his quarterback is obvious, but it would be crazy to turn on him, given the body of work that we've seen.
Well, and again, these are more structural issues. This is not just the quarterback is playing bad. Like Drew Lock is going to do the same exact thing, and maybe even worse. In this.
Well, he's taking more sacks beyond a doubt.
Yeah. But what I would say is if the third down thing doesn't improve by the end of the season, say, or they're inconsistent in the red zone again. I mean, they barely reached the red zone. How many first downs did they have in this game?
6,
0.
right?
6? Oh no,
something like that.
Wait.
6. Yeah, 6.
They got in the red zone once on the DK 50-yarder, and then
that's right.
I think that was it.
That's right.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Anyway, if this doesn't correct itself, ultimately it will fall on the quarterback, and next year I don't know if we'll see Gino as the starter, but that is very it's very early to. It's just a fact, but there's nothing to say that it can't improve. It's just how that's when it'll be decided. That's kind of where I'm going with that. It's not going to happen in the season. Like, Gino's nowhere near playing bad enough for that to be the case right now.
I mean, people don't want it. I mean, he's playing like a top 12 quarterback still. And I know that's, to some people, an unconscionable statement, but he has
overall,
he's prevented so much more negative plays than I think people realize.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that is preventing them from being better is honestly just kind of a combination of things out of his control and randomness and variance.
With the mistakes that have started to creep.
So he compounds it. He compounds it, but he's not ground zero for it. And in 2 weeks' time, as far as how it translates, as like how we connect this to long-term narratives and stuff, I wonder how will it feel in 2 weeks' time if they're 7-3. I think they are 7-3 in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So the context there being that the next two games are the Commanders, and then at the 49ers.
I thought it was Rams next.
I thought it was Rams after that.
It is. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the Rams, then at home to the 49ers, right?
And it might, and Stafford might not be playing in that game. We'll have to see. So.
Yeah.
I hope he does, honestly, but
that is
because you want your salty run back.
I'm not afraid to take a stand.
Okay, enough.
We don't want to get copyright strike.
Are there any positives? Yeah, it's very. I mean, you kind of got you got an M&M, like a Washington M&M about you, Griff. You could rival Macklemore.
No. Afraid not.
Okay. I'm your biggest fan, Griff.
Is that why I feel so cool
Are there
right
any
now?
positives about the offense? Other than no one got hurt. That's a W. I thought it was cool how Jackson Smith and Jigba caught a downfield target on like a slot fade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Did you turn off before that? Or
No, that was cool.
it did happen, right?
Well, okay, here's one positive. I like that Gino's process didn't implode. Like he was trying, even as it was like he never stopped trying to be the same quarterback he's always been.
Yep.
He
Tried
didn't
to give
turtle up.
DK a chance on that fourth down. Late in the game on the third down, he goes out the pocket and he doesn't force an abysmal pick. He just it protects the football. He didn't completely melt down. I think that's a good point.
He tried to give the pocket what was there. He tried to take what the pocket gave him.
Played quarterback.
I'm not saying he played well in spite of it all. I'm just saying like the under the hood look at his operating was still there. Like there's still a heartbeat to what he's trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the thinnest of silver linings to take away. Probably felt good for Jackson to make that catch too.
Yeah.
Outside of that, they all tried really hard.
Yeah, did you see afterwards Jamal Adams was asked what went well and he was like, well, we woke up this morning.
So we're still alive.
We're still alive. And that transitions us towards the defense where they played some fairly solid football in the first half, but they completely just they got time of possession to death. They were holding them to field goals and then it just melted down.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is being tired, but I mean Pete Carroll wasn't laying it on nicely. He said that they forgot to tackle in the second half and they couldn't get people on the ground, and that's what he's going to be looking at the most, and what he's concerned about is why it happened like that, because and also there were some weird things with like the run fits where Jaron Reed after the game is saying about how guys need to hold their gap even if they're on the backside or the front side, being disciplined, and how they can play much better than that.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some things of guys over pressing. Maybe they were trying to get the football out on some of those missed tackles, but it wasn't great from the defense, and it's just a kind of a crappy way to end it. I mean,
I agree that the first
298 yards rushing, basically 300 without the kneel downs.
Yeah. I agree that the first half they had some life to them. But so, I mean, it's frustrating that like, all right, I mean, Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, Trey Brown, you look at the ideas of what those players are and you compare them to what the ideas of what the Ravens receivers are. The Seahawks are more talented on the perimeter and they just got beat in a lot of one-on-one situations. They just got beat. That's frustrating. That's not something that I expect to continue. I mean, they played that game like they did like week 1. They played that game like they did week 2 on third downs and week 3 on third downs, after finally kind of getting it together, like that Bengals game, the exception of a couple of Jamar catches in the first half, they blanketed a very talented receiving core. So the silver lining is I don't expect that to maintain the negative play that we saw today. It's a little, maybe Woolen though, Maddie, like you tweeted, maybe he's got something going on with his knee. I don't know.
I just think just on that point, I'm sure his knee's like, he's obviously medically cleared to go play a massively violent sport, but like I've never had an operation like that, and hopefully I don't have to, but you never know. But just movement wise, especially at this level that these dudes are playing at, I think it will just take some getting used to. Along with that, he missed all the off-season reps. Pete Carroll said like after the season that like he's really excited about the kind of technique stuff they can sharpen up, refine with him, paraphrasing there. But like, year 1 to year 2, year 1, he was so successful. I mean, he did take to what they were coaching very quickly, but predominantly he lent on his amazing athletic ability. along with a nose for getting the football and good drive and stuff like that. But in that second year, you felt if he could really sharpen stuff up, especially when receivers have extra tape on him, they kind of know his weaknesses, strengths. They can really study his game. He'd be all right. But I think this is just put him behind the in a lot of facets, really, and along with the fact that he just needs to get used to moving around again with that knee. So, yeah. Sorry for interrupting you. Did you have a head of steam there, Griff? And now I've stopped it.
No. I mean what?
Nothing.
Okay. I think the other silver lining though is that it's cool that Boye Mafe continues to be really good.
Yep.
That's a big positive, isn't it? I mean, that was an amazing sack, and yeah.
I think you guys. I think you guys can tell that we're not enthused.
Yeah, he had another good rush before that too on that one crazy Lamar scramble. But I mean, he's getting it done from left side, right side.
What concerned me was how when the defense was like playing good ball or like okay ball in the first half, the middle of the field was getting picked on real hard, and a lot of it was in that area where, is it Bobby Wagner's middle hook in a fire zone? Is Bobby Wagner the rat and they're playing man coverage? But essentially it was stuff where a guy who's more agile would surely be able to get underneath some of these like shallow crosses and be the help that the other players are expecting him to be, rather than just running backwards while the ball's thrown to his side.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not scapegoating, even though I basically just did scapegoat. But that was just something I noticed.
I mean, you're just spitting facts. That says what it is. Something that we do need to address.
Yeah.
It's that's it's a problem. That's a problem that they've been able to work around a little bit here, but got exposed a little bit today.
And one thing I'd be interested on, Griff, is Griff and I, when we dived into the Browns film, we focused on a specific run type that Cleveland was doing and how Seattle's structure for playing it was a bit weird, and their play call thing was weird. And Griff, I'd be interested in your thoughts on... Well, firstly, I think it's kind of fitting the combination theme that we sort of began the show with. To me, the warning signs were there versus the Browns, the Cardinals, that when a team, particularly in shotgun, but also could be pistol, but they gap run well with the threat of a quarterback keeping the football, it can cause a few more problems for this structure, even if Seattle executes really well. Like, they're ultimately, you're going to have your schematic weaknesses. But then two, Griff, did we see a single snap of nickel bear?
No. And I think it goes back to what you said about not wanting one of the edges to have a run pass conflict, or rather a run fit and pass drop conflict. Just because, the running back to the flat and then Lamar, that can just add too much.
But that being said, they ended up just essentially, as they have done all season, really, as a kind of stress alleviator, basically pressuring into like bear kind of looks, and guys having to loop to contain but why we've raised this chat and listener is because it feels like, while it's really impressive that they've spent basically, it's probably up there with, I need to update my numbers, but it's probably like 90% of their snaps in this nickel 4 down over front look. And it's really impressive how they've been able to stop the run in that up until this game. I think there's just a lack of diversity where I think teams, obviously, they watch each other's tape and how teams get successful on runs. And while Seattle, they kind of maintain diversity or add diversity by stunting in that front, moving in that front and pressuring, having just a different look, and running that different look, and I think would probably have helped. It's basically defense about moving the weak point and moving your stress and adding a different type of strength than nickel bear. So 5 guys down at line of scrimmage to start off with, and then what you can do off that would have been a different dynamic. And we did wonder if they'd do it with our preview with Derek Clarkson, because that's what Pete Carroll used to do against mobile quarterbacks, bear fronts, and it might have been a way of changing the picture. I mean, I guess the second half got out of hand for probably non-schematic reasons, just execution, I guess. But
and part of it might be that he doesn't want. I mean, because then you have to be repping like the drops for the outside linebackers, and I don't think you want to do that without Nwosu. Mafe, he wouldn't mind. Taylor theoretically shouldn't mind, but I just don't think he wanted to put that on them.
No.
You know, and also he doesn't want to not have a pass rush. And it's hard to get a 4-man rush out of that. He wants to keep the pressure on the quarterback because that helps them in the pass game. It's finally coming to fruition this year. So
we've definitely seen it, and that's what he said when I was like asking Pete Carroll in after the Munich game against Tampa Bay, where they only played that nickel look, basically didn't have the personnel, didn't have Brian Monet active to play bear like kind of looks. He was like, I think it's pretty I forget what term he used, but it's like basically pretty obvious why we like nickel. It's for the pass rush, and that has come to fruition this year. And again, with such a bad loss, you can overreact to like a 1-game sample. Overall, it's been a success. I just think the past 3 weeks, teams have got a bit better at how they run on it. That being said, you know, there's not many guys with Lamar Jackson. There's not many guys with legs like PJ Walker. Like, I mean, the commander Sam Howell isn't going to be as big a problem as on quarterback keepers.
Right.
Yeah. Ty, anything else on the defense?
Yeah, I think, you know, as far as the run game or the run success goes, we started to see a couple little cracks in the Cardinals game, and then those cracks started to branch a little bit in the Browns game, and then the dam just bust completely today, and it's really disappointing. But yeah, I think second half wise, that's just frustration culminating and guys trying to do a little bit too much, and we'll see. But I would think some of the tackle or missed tackles were probably guys going for the ball, just trying to make something happen at that point. Game's pretty much out of hand at that point, so yeah, it's just a really disappointing effort. But also, I think the cope here is that this is just like the extreme of the extremes. So hopefully some positive regression in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that was hell. So just overall, yeah, John mentions in the chat Leonard Williams. Yeah, there was some like tackle end games where it looked interesting, but I don't know. Now we did get a donation actually on the subject of defense from PO. Thank you, very nice to donate. The super chat link is fairly simple, I think, on YouTube. Draymond Jones was a bad signing. I think it was about right for the price, Griff. Draymond.
I think the issue is that he was overpaid, and I think they knew he was overpaid, and that's kind of reflected in the structure that they were outside
right.
year one
That's
and year two.
Yeah, that's.
But
important.
he was the best interior defensive lineman available after Hargrave.
And they were also interested in Zach Allen, weren't they?
And Allen went for about the same, and Allen's not doing a whole lot. He's fine.
No, and at least Draymond has actually against the run. I mean, this game it looked kind of rough out there, but previous weeks he's had some really good 3-tech, just getting upfield and the guard reps against the run. I think he's been pretty solid overall. Just he's never, as we saw from the tape, he's never going to be that complete game record disruptor. He's kind of a tier 2 / tier 3, but on a good day could be almost.
Yeah. I mean, those players have good games, right?
Absolutely.
Like, they have high impact games, but he really has been coming on up until this game. He had been coming on slowly but surely, and he did have that hip injury in the beginning of the year that is going to, slow down your mobility, especially for a finesse guy. So, yeah, but they need more from everyone. They need more from everybody.
And you know what? Great that run that big run from number 34, where Tony Romo started talking about how Seattle was in too high and the safeties needed to come down, kind of quarterback brain. But Draymond got moved at 3-tech there, and he is like, they've been playing light on the inside. It's not just that they're a 2-4-5 and they're in a 4 front and nickel, and they have these 2 wide edge types who 260, 250 pounds. But the 2 interior dudes are Jaron Reed and Draymond Jones, and it's impressive to be able to do that, you know. But it felt like the Ravens just bullied the crap out of them in this game, like mauled them, especially in that second half, especially in that fourth quarter. Yeah, that's why Leonard Williams' addition, just another over 300-pound guy, was nice, but yeah, rough.
Yep.
All right. So one positive is that this is a rare defeat, as we talked about at the start of the show, and I think that's why it's got such a reaction from the fan base, from us. Biggest loss of the Seattle Overload podcast, so
right.
remember the day.
Never forget.
It was our fault.
This is like when the Visigoths sacked Rome. There's too many of them.
Yeah.
Isn't it just like that, guys? Or is this for like the Battle of Teutoburg Forest?
Like the video chat, if you agree.
Varys, give me back my legions of boom.
Yeah. Right. So 2 updates on injuries.
Good one. I like that. I like that one.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
DJ Dallas hurt his shoulder. They don't know the severity of it. Pete Carroll said afterwards. And then he also updated us on Derek Hall, who I think hurt a shoulder he'd already hurt. And if Hall is banged up, that's pretty severe for Seattle, because it leaves them 3 deep outside linebacker edge rush. Maybe Levi Bell gets called up. We will see.
Michael Dixon had a great game, folks. Great game.
So where are we at with
highest graded Seahawk on the TDG meter?
It wouldn't be a bad Seahawks loss without looking at without looking at 4th down decisions. So where are we at with 4th and 3? Seattle decided to punt from the Baltimore.
It's like the 43, something like that.
Yeah. Why is this so bad? Yeah, I can't find it for some reason.
Sounds to me like a user error.
I don't know why I can't find this. Oh.
Here.
43, yeah. Baltimore 43. This lists it at 4th and 4, so that's completely different. Where are we at with that? Should we find Pete Carroll?
Yeah. Fire the hitting coach, folks.
It got them down to the Baltimore 4, and then Seattle.
Why would Jerry DePoto do this? Yeah.
And Seattle forced a 3 and out from there, so.
Right.
Which it should be process, not results, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, hindsight is 20/20. Like, I guess knowing how the game went from that point forward, maybe, but like in that moment,
I think the model said to go for it.
Yeah, it did. It said +3 win percentage.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you got to play to win. So, I mean, maybe strictly speaking, they probably should have. I'm more curious on the head coach's process, or their thought process when they don't decide to go for it. Because I'm sure they have that number accessible to them, because every team is an analytics department now.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, we kind of saw why you wouldn't in the whole game. Like, when they were passing down, and if it was 4th and 4, I think it was, and the 43-yard line was confusing, moved to 4th and 3. So 4th and 4, that was nightmare territory.
Yeah, and I know this is misguided, but to that point, I think they had some confidence in their defense. Try to play a small game, and they didn't want variance. I don't think they thought they needed to lean on high variance outcomes to their favor to win. I think they thought even with them until obviously they weren't.
Yeah,
Much
Pete
weren't.
said they thought it might go back and forth, and it kind of did at the start, and then they trapped it.
You can see why they thought that, at least to begin.
Absolutely. I don't think they're deluded there. Oh, right. Well, chat. That is the least copy Seattle Overload podcast ever, I think. But we'll be back. We need to find a guest. Oh, no, we have a guest. We have a great guest to preview the Commanders game. Really, really good expert. That'll be, I think, on Tuesday night. And then Wednesday or Thursday, Griff and I will be reviewing the tape from this past game. It'll be a real mess. We'll have to try and find some key topics to focus on. Also, Leonard Williams did play in this game, but we didn't really see the best of him. However, if you watch Griff's video on him, you'll see the best of him, so you can get excited about that. And if you watch my video on Jerick Reed, the safety who got some defensive action up to his defensive snap count this game, you'll see how he's balling out on special teams. I don't know if he had a special teams tackle today. But as Jay says in the chat, this was a debacle. And that's that. Thank you, everyone. Like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, follow Griff at CMikeSpinMove, follow Ty at Dane Gunzlers, follow me at Matty F. Brown, and follow the podcast at Seattle Overload 5-star reviews. Please and thank you.